Happy morning, children. Once again, I welcome you all for this online class. And today we are continuing with our lesson 2 of history titled Great Thinkers and New Faith, part 3. And in the last class, we studied about the two important sects of Buddhism. One is Hinayana and the other one is Mahayana. And the Hinayana are very extreme group. They follow strict and orthodox rules. But Mahayana is exactly opposite to Hinayana. They are very much liberal. They don't follow strict rules. They follow only what could be possible for them to do. They do not follow very strict rules. But there is one more thing, that is we call middle path. That is, they are not like Hinayana and also not like Mahayana. They are not extremely attached to the world, but also they are not extremely committed to penance. Okay, so the middle path is a life which is they even never lean into the world, involved into the worldly activities completely. They do only what is very much basic things important to the life, that's all. And also, they will never perform any severe penance, that is, they even won't perform severe meditations. They will follow only basic meditations, that's all. They don't have follow very strict deep meditations, they won't follow. This type of group is called middle path. So the middle path is not too much orthodox, not too much liberal. Okay, now let's study what are the important causes for the spread of Buddhism. Why Buddhism spreaded in India very much faster? And the first reason why Buddhism spreaded all over India is the teachings of Buddha is very much simple. Even a uneducated local man can understand what is the teachings of Buddha. And also it is in the local language. But when you look at the Vedic religion, Hinduism, it is very much complex. It cannot be understood by a common man. Only the priest should be able to teach them. Then only they can understand. But the Buddhism teachings are very simple and it is used in local language. But Vedic religion, it followed Sanskrit language. So they need interpretation. But here it is in simple and in local language. So Buddhism spreaded very much. The second reason of the spread of Buddhism is it rejected elaborate religious customs. If you look at the Vedic religion, they followed elaborate customs, okay, rituals, sacrifices, many complex things they have to perform in Vedic religion. But Buddhism, they do not practice any rituals and sacrifices. You need not to have to spend any money regarding sacrifices and rituals. But in Vedic religion, you have to spend lot of money for sacrifices and rituals. Okay. The third reason is Buddhism emphasis was on observance of Dhamma. That is, the teachings of Buddha is called Dhamma. So they emphasize, that is, they concentrate, they spread only the teachings of Buddha. That's all. We need not to follow any strict rules and all. The fourth reason is Buddhist Sanghas. Sanghas means it is a group, it is an organization, missionary organization who spread all over the world and they uh, teach the Dhamma about Buddhism. Okay, so the Sanghas, Buddhist Sanghas, they played a major role in the spread of Buddhism. And the fifth reason for the spread of Buddhism is Royal patronage under Ashoka, Kanishka, and Harsha helped the causes of Buddhism. That is, all the royal people supported Buddhism. Ashoka, the greatest emperor of India, he supported Buddhism. Kanishka, another emperor, Harsha, all these royal people, they supported, and because kings supported, local people also accepted this religion. And the sixth and the final reason for the cause of spread of Buddhism in India is Buddhist monasteries became a great centers of education. That is, the monasteries of Buddhism is not only for a place of meditation, it is also for education also. And there was a great university, the first university in India, which is called Nalanda University. And this university, a great Chinese traveler, Hyun Sang, he studied here for many years. So this Nalanda University belonged to Buddhist religion. So these are some of the six reasons which which is the important reasons for the cause of the spread of Buddhism. Okay, now we'll move on to the frescoes paintings. Okay, so these frescoes paintings are found in the Ajanta caves, which is in Aurangabad in Maharashtra district. Okay, so in these frescoes paintings, there were many stories, we call it Jataka tales, were painted on the walls and ceilings of the caves. Okay, so what is Jataka stories? So Jatakas are the popular stories of the Buddhism, uh, which will be in a story form uh, about the life of previous birth. Okay, in previous birth, uh, we could be human being or animal in any such form. What are the stories happened, it will give informations about them. And also these stories, they teach morals also. So Jatakas means it is a stories of previous birth which give some moral informations. Okay, now we are going to study about the similarities and dissimilarities between Buddhism and Jainism. First, let's study about similarities of Buddhism. Similarities means what? Common things. What are the common things between Jainism and Buddhism? So, the first common thing is both Mahavira and Buddha hailed from royal families. So, both the leaders of both religion, they belong to the royal families. Okay, they were from the noble family, Kshatriya prince. Yet they renounced royal privileges and chose to adopt an ascetic life. And even though they belonged to the royal family, they came out of their houses and they became ascetic. Okay, ascetic means people who live simple form of life. They never have any possession. They never own anything. Only they wear a simple dress and live a simple life. The second similarities between both religions are they taught the language of the common people. So Vedic religion, they taught in Sanskrit language. So it is very hard for the common people to understand. But Jainism and Buddhism, they are not like that. They teach in the local language of the people. And both religions admitted disciples from all the castes and from both the genders. In Vedic religion, only male candidates will be accepted and allowed to. Sorry, in Vedic religion, only upper class people, high class people are allowed to perform rituals and also become priest of the temple. But here in Jainism and Buddhism, they have no caste barrier. That is, people from any caste, they can be allowed to do perform the religious rites. Okay, and also Vedic religion, they restricted female, women genders. Okay, but in Buddhism and Jainism, there is no gender barrier. Even Women are allowed to have equal uh, worship along with men, and both religions opposed blood sacrifices. So sacrificing goats, animals, birds for god and goddesses were restricted, were not allowed in both religions. They believed in the doctrine of karma. So what is the doctrine of karma? Whatever your action in this life, according to this life, your next life, the quality of the next life will be uh, happening. If you live good life in this present life, your future birth will be a good life. If you live a bad life in this life, then your future birth will be in a difficult situation. And both religions emphasize on right conduct and right knowledge instead of performing religious ceremonies and rituals as means to achieve salvation. So when you look at Vedic religion, you must perform only rituals, but here rituals are not necessary. Only you must gain right conduct and right knowledge. So it is very much easy to, and it is very much reasonable to follow, but rituals are not very much reasonable. We don't have reason why we do rituals, but here we are doing actions and we are getting knowledge. So both religions followed this type of customs. So up to now we studied about similarities about the both religions. Now we are going to study about dissimilarities, that is differences, variations between the two religions. First, Jainism. So Jainism followed extreme path. That is Jainism, they are very much orthodox. Okay, they followed strict rules. But Buddhism, they followed middle path. Middle path means not too much orthodox, not too much liberal, in the middle position. And Jainism, it remained only in India. So it did not spread in other countries. Jainism is followed only in India. But Buddhism, they spread across the many parts of the world. If you go to China, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, there are a lot of Buddhist temples and monasteries even today. It spread to other countries, and more specifically, uh, Southeast Asian countries. And it does not believe in the existence of God. Jainism does not believe in the existence of God, but believes in life in every living being. So, Jainism does not believe in the existence of God, but it only believes in the life in the every being. But Buddhism, it emphasizes on anatma and anitya. Anatma means there is no eternal soul. That is, the soul is not eternal. It never goes eternal. It will slowly change in life. It gets changes. Soul gets changes. Anitya means impermanence. Impermanence means nothing is eternal. Everything will be keep on changing. So Buddhism followed this type of belief. Okay, the next topic is Buddhist councils. Councils means meetings. So there were four important meetings held regarding the Buddhist organization. The first one is Rajagriha, second one is Vaishali, third one is Pataliputra, fourth one is Kashmir. These are important places where the councils, the meetings held. So the first meeting was held in Rajagriha, which is in Odisha today. Vaishali, the second place where they met. This is also located in Bihar. Pataliputra, it is also in the northern part of Bihar. So the first three meetings were held in Bihar, and the fourth one is held at Kashmir. So these are the four important Buddhist councils, meetings held in different places. Now we are going to study about the influence of Buddhism in Tamil Nadu. So how it brought changes in Tamil Nadu. How Buddhism affected Tamil Nadu. In what are the ways it is related to Tamil Nadu, we are going to study. First one, Buddhism spread to Tamil Nadu much later than Jainism. So first Jainism only spreaded in Tamil Nadu. After Jainism only Buddhism came into Tamil Nadu. Manimekalai, one of the epics of the post-Sangam age, is a Buddhist literature. We could have learned in your Tamil language about the literature book called Manimekalai. So this Manimekalai book was a Buddhist literature book. There is an elaborate description about Kanchipuram in classic epic Manimekalai. So in the classic literature book Manimekalai, there were a lot of informations about the place called Kanchipuram. And Kanchipuram was a famous Buddhist center from where Dinnaga, the famous Buddhist logician, and Dharmabala, a great scholar of Nalanda University, hailed. So Kanchipuram is a place which is famous for Buddhist centers, okay, and also two famous Buddhist scholars. One is Dinnaha, he is an Buddhist logician. Logician means people who uses logic. Logic means reasoning. Okay, if anything which is possible, it should have some reasons to happen. That is called logician. Logic. So Dinnaga is a famous Buddhist logician, and Dharmapala, he also a great scholar from Nalanda University. They were belong to Kanchipuram. And also Huan Sang, the famous Chinese traveler, he visited Kanchipuram during the 7th century AD, and he noticed that there was a 100 feet tall Buddhist stupa which was built by Emperor Ashoka. Okay, and finally there was a story, Jataka story, given in our book. What is Jataka story? It is a story happened in the previous birth. Okay, and it teaches, it gives us some moral informations. So in this story there were two characters. One is a lion, and the other one is a woodpecker. What happened? Once upon a time, a lion hunted a bison. Okay, and while it was very busy in consuming the meal, what happened? A large bone of the bison got struck into the uh, lion's throat, and the lion was in a great pain, and it could not able to remove that bone from its throat. So what happened? There was a kind-hearted woodpecker noticed this suffering lion, and it went near the lion, and the woodpecker asked the lion it would help the lion to remove the bone, but in return the lion should not harm the woodpecker. While plucking the bone, the lion should not eat the woodpecker. This is the rule placed by the deal placed by the woodpecker. And the lion agreed, and finally woodpecker hopped inside the lion's mouth, and it pulled out the bone, and it relieved the pain of the lion. And also, as the lion promised, it did not eat the woodpecker. And finally, the woodpecker went away. So, what happened after a few days? Again, the lion hunted another bison. So, the woodpecker, the same woodpecker that helped the lion, it came near the lion and asked for a share of meal. But the lion answered, uh, see, last time, if I could have decided, when you remove the bone, I could have eaten you. So I did much favor to you. So get away from my presence. So the lion, it did not remember about the help rendered by the woodpecker. In return, it only reminded about the help given by the lion by not eating the woodpecker. So the world is in such a way that they will look only about the help which only they gave to others. They never remember about the help which was done by others. So this is the moral story, Jataka story, in the literatures of Buddhism. And finally, the last topic is elsewhere in the world, 6th century BC. That is, during the same time, 6th century BC, what are the other religions followed in other parts of the world? There are two major religions followed in other parts of the world. One is in China, that is called Confucius religion, and the other one is followed in China, which is Zoroastrianism, founded by Zoroaster. So that ends our lesson. We'll meet in our next lesson.